Let's go Broncos! It has been way too long since you could say this with a straight face, but the entire AFC West is terrified of your Denver Broncos. And it's not just me saying it. This comes straight from insiders covering the Raiders, Chargers, and Chiefs. They are watching what Sean Payton and George Payton just pulled off in free agency and the draft, and they are panicking. So buckle up because what's happening in Denver is about to reshape the balance of power in this division. Let's start with the Chargers, because honestly, this meltdown deserves its own documentary. They walked into the offseason with $90 million in cap space, the second most in the entire NFL, and somehow managed to turn that into an absolute disaster. They lost Poona Ford, Joey Bosa, Asante Samuel Jr., Christian Fulton, and Josh Palmer. And what did they do with all that money? They dropped a huge bag on Najee Harris, an aging running back, in the deepest running back class in NFL history. Then, to double down on their mistake, they spent one of their top draft picks on Omarion Hampton, who plays the same position. It's the definition of roster mismanagement. Imagine having that much cap space and walking away without fixing your offensive line, without landing a top-tier corner, and getting dunked on by the rest of the league for it. Evan Ingram? They tried to sign him. He watched tape of Justin Herbert, said no thanks, and signed with the Broncos. And as if things couldn't get any worse for the Chargers, there's talk that they're bringing in Von Miller. Yes, the Von Miller, 36 years old, 2 knee surgeries later, as a solution to losing Joey Bosa. This is desperation in its purest form. And let's be real, Broncos country. When your rivals are out here praying that a 400-pound Mekhi Becton with 2 surgically repaired knees can hold up at left tackle, it tells you everything you need to know about where these franchises are headed. The Broncos are building. The Chargers are scrambling. Now swing it over to the Raiders. They're watching in real time as the Broncos front office executes a masterclass in team building. Every AFC West content creator had to admit it. Denver's draft was one of the best in the league. JV and Johnny Barron was a steal. You pair him with Pat Surtain too, and suddenly throwing the ball against this defense feels impossible. Add in Riley Moss, another rising corner, and it's clear Sean Payton's blueprint is all about suffocating opposing quarterbacks. Then you look at the offensive side. R.J. Harvey, game changer. He's not just a rotational back. He's the joker in Sean Payton's deck. A player who can do it all. You want to talk about Alvin Kamara 2.0? This is it. Pair him with Audric Estime, who's an absolute hammer, and you've got a 1-2 punch designed to punish defenses for 4 quarters. Power, speed, versatility. By the 4th quarter, linebackers are going to be making business decisions. Pat Bryant? Yeah, the critics said it was a reach. But let's be honest, those same critics said the same thing about Bo Nix last year. And how did that turn out? Bo Nix threw the second most touchdowns in rookie history. Every single time Sean Payton goes against the grain, the results speak for themselves. And it's not just the top picks. Savon Jones out of LSU and Quay Robinson out of Alabama are monsters in the making. Sean Payton isn't building for just this year. He's stacking the defensive front for the next 5 years. Benito, Browning, Allen, JFM, now add Robinson and Jones. This is Orange Crush 2.0. A defense built to not just survive, but to dominate the AFC. Even the 7th-round punter pick raised eyebrows until you actually look at the numbers. Jeremy Crawshaw averaged better than half the punters in the NFL last year while playing at altitude. This isn't a wasted pick. It's another example of Sean Payton finding value where no one else is looking. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. The same people trashing the Broncos draft are the ones who mocked Bo Nix a year ago. They said Denver reached. They said he wouldn't start. They said he'd be a bust. And what happened? He outplayed Justin Herbert in the playoffs. He threw for more touchdowns, had a better passer rating, and led the Broncos to a playoff win while Herbert threw 4 interceptions against the Texans. Let that sink in. The excuses are running out. The Chargers are falling apart. The Raiders are stuck in neutral. The Chiefs, aging, dealing with injuries, losing pieces, while Denver is ascending. Bo Nix is the real deal. R.J. Harvey is the real deal. This defense is a problem. This coaching staff is unified. This front office is locked in. So Broncos country, it's time to sound off. What's your grade for this draft class? Are you buying the hype around R.J. Harvey and J. Barron? And now, as we peel this back even further, it's time to start asking the real questions, because this isn't just about winning the division anymore. This is about building a roster that can go toe-to-toe with anyone in the AFC. The Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Bills, bring them all. This Broncos roster isn't just ready to compete, it's ready to take over. Let's look at the structure. Bo Nix isn't some one-year wonder. This isn't lightning in a bottle. This is a quarterback who's been built for this moment his entire career. A player with the highest completion percentage in college football history. A player who walked into the NFL, picked up Sean Payton's playbook like he'd been running it for 5 years, and instantly turned this offense into a machine. So the big question is, which Tua are the Dolphins getting this year? Are we getting the locked-in, angry, prove-you-wrong Tua who's ready to lead this team deep into the playoffs? Or are we going to see the same pattern, flashes of brilliance followed by injuries and disappointment? Is this finally the year where Tua silences every critic and drags this team deep into January football? Or is this just another setup for heartbreak? Because let me tell you, the stakes have never been higher. This isn't just about Tua's reputation. This is about the future of the Miami Dolphins. This front office is sitting on a razor's edge. If Tua balls out, if he leads this team to a playoff win, maybe even further, then everything changes. But if he doesn't, oh man, this team could look completely different by this time next year. And it's not just about Tua either. Let's not ignore the elephant in the room, Tyreek Hill. That apology he made during Super Bowl week, that wasn't some feel-good, let's be friends moment. That was damage control. Straight up PR survival. Because the reality is, Tyreek's antics have burned a lot of goodwill with this locker room. Undermining the head coach. Undermining the quarterback. And yeah, while a lot of us love watching him torch defenses on Sundays, you better believe the front office is watching all this drama unfold behind closed doors. There are rumblings, and I mean serious rumblings, that the Dolphins could be ready to hit the reset button if this thing goes sideways. Trade Tyreek. Trade Ramsey. Move on from Tua. Reload the roster with $80 million in cap space. You think that's wild? Look at how this roster is structured. The contracts are set up perfectly for a massive teardown if needed. And with Chris Grier still making decisions, yeah, the same Grier who should have been canned years ago, you never really know what this guy's going to do. He's the king of half measures. Always has been. But let's go deeper. Why is Tua radio silent right now? Some say it's because he's focused, dialed in like never before. Others think it's because he's frustrated, tired of the noise, tired of the constant criticism, tired of teammates throwing shade in public. And honestly, I think it's a bit of both. I think Tua is cooking up something behind the scenes. I think he's gearing up for the most important season of his career. And that leads to one of the most fascinating questions hanging over this team. What happens if Tua stays healthy for an entire season? Look at the numbers. Look at the tape. When Tua is on the field and firing on all cylinders, this offense is lethal. You've got defenses running scared, sitting back in two high shells all game long because they're terrified of getting burned deep. But when Tua goes down, everything collapses. The offense grinds to a halt. The defense gets overworked. The whole house of cards comes tumbling down. And let's not act like McDaniel is off the hook here either. He came in with this genius offensive mind reputation. But where's the balance? Where's the commitment to the run game? Where's the adaptability when teams figure out how to counter the deep ball? The guy's offense looks unstoppable when everything's going right. But when it isn't, it falls apart fast. And a big part of that failure falls directly on Grier's shoulders. How many years are we going to keep watching this man neglect the offensive line? How many more seasons are we going to pretend like it's fine to let Tua get slammed into the turf because the protection just isn't there? And now let's talk about leadership. There's been this narrative floating around that Tua isn't a real leader, that he's too quiet, that he doesn't command the locker room. Absolute nonsense. Go watch Hard Knocks. Watch the clip where he completely takes over the offense late in the game against Dallas. He's telling McDaniel to back off, handling the play calls himself, taking charge in the huddle. That's leadership. That's ownership of the offense. But you won't hear the haters talk about that, will you? And yet, it's still not enough. Because until Tua leads this team to a playoff win, until he proves he can stay healthy when it matters, the questions are going to linger. The doubts are going to stay. And every little thing, from Tyreek's tweets to whether Tua shows up in offseason workout videos, is going to get dissected under